Hey y'all, Michelle Johnson here again with Have Color Will Travel. We're going to be doing some coloring together today, but I also wanted to talk to you about my new favorite coloring tool. It's the Stabilo Woody 3-in-1. And as you can tell, these are not made for adults, but that's okay. As you can see, this is a box of amazing fat wooden colored pencils made by the German maker Stabilo, designed for children. They work on glass. They are easy to clean off. I've known teachers using these on whiteboards in replacement of markers, because obviously they wouldn't dry out. And they are also water soluble, and they work like a crayon. So the three I believe that we're talking about of other things that they do is, one, they work like a crayon. Two, you can wet them with a paintbrush, and they include a paintbrush in this set of 18. And so then they work like watercolor pencils. And then three, they also write on glass and are really like a very awesome crayon-like coloring experience. They came in this box, and this box is intended, I believe, to store them, but it was not my favorite thing. Listen to that. Getting them in and out was really clumsy. They wouldn't pop out of this very easily, which was flimsy, not flimsy, that's the wrong word, which was really cumbersome. Especially when I was trying to work quickly, because like I said, ew, that's a horrible sound. These are water soluble, so I did a lot of coloring that I was working fast, working against my air conditioning drying what I was doing, and I just didn't like the packaging, so I just went into my storage closet where I have all kinds of different supplies that I've used over the years, and I took out some old beads and put them and consolidated them, and then this is a fishing tackle box that I had when I was using for storing beads. I now am going to be storing my Woodies in them, and they are, I have to just say, I don't know if I've ever held a pencil that was more satisfying to hold. They feel lightweight like a balsa wood. If you remember, like balsa wood construction kits when we were kids for making soapbox racers or boats, feels like a balsa wood. This is tacky and feels so like a crayon, but even more, I want to say, have a tendency to feel more like a really hard oil pastel. So if you're thinking like the Pentel kind of pastels, it just feels so cool in my hands. And the set, I got the 18 set because you know me, I'm always going to get the set that has all the colors because I want all the colors. I also wanted all the colors because I searched this online. Individually, these are really popular amongst mixed media artists, and individually they run between $2.50 and $4 a crayon or a 3-in-1. This set I got for under $40, so 18, do the math. The set was a way better deal than if I was to buy just the black, which was really what I was buying it for, because you'll see in a minute, it's super awesome. They also why I wanted to get the set, it comes with a special sharpener. Look at, my fingers are not svelte. It sticks right in there. I knew I was going to need a sharpener for these, for when I've been using them for a little while. I haven't had them very long, less than a month. And I've used them, but I haven't felt the need for a sharpener yet. But I knew that when I did need a sharpener, I didn't have anything with the circumference of these pencils. It also comes with a size 8 round paintbrush. It's not, an artist quality paintbrush, and online people were complaining about it, but I've honestly really enjoyed playing with it. So, you make your own decision, but that's what I'm going to be using today in our coloring session. So I'm going to set this aside, and before I begin, I want to show you, I've been working with these on another page in my feminist coloring book, Feminism is for Everyone. That was the first place that I decided to use my Stabilo 3-in-1 Woodies. And y'all, I had so much fun. I used them on this. So, and then I got it wet. So it's hard to see. I should have made my camera go a little bit higher, but I wanted you to see the small coloring page. But I did use some to round out these, because you see, it's me. I'm coloring in the rainbow palette because that's what I do. I've been doing that. Gosh, I think that habit of mine started since the pandemic, and it's still going strong. So you'll see I'm doing the rainbow palette, but I'm using different shades of all the Regi bibs, and obviously there's not that many shades of green in this collection, so I was rounding out my shades also with my Faber-Castell Faber-Castell watercolor pencils as well. So don't get the impression that you can create all these shades of colors with just 18 Woodies, but the primary use here is with the Woodies, and I'm super excited with how this page is turning out. It was really, really fun to color with. So let's take, this is my current free page, let's take this page and do a little coloring. Now before I begin coloring the center, I just wanted to remind y'all of what it was that made me release this image out into the universe as a free page, and it was all of the violence that's been going on in Ukraine, with Russia declaring war on Ukraine, and the story about where this page came from and why I decided to make it the free page for right now is in my recent blog post. So that description will be, or the link to that will be in the description. So if you're interested in hearing the story behind this and what inspired me to adapt this page from my feminist coloring book, Feminism is for Everyone, into this design and to make it free for everyone, that story is there. I think it's interesting, so hopefully you'll read it. But so the center part, this is obviously my rainbow vibe for Pride, for all my wonderful friends of all different kinds of colors. There's, I mean, just the gamut of the ways that there are to be an expressive and present human in this world. That's what that represents. But the inside I'm going to do with the colors of the Ukrainian flag, and what you saw me pause there with was I have 3 blues to choose from in this set, which I think is super fun. And I really wasn't sure what direction I wanted to go. Oh, there's, surprise, surprise, cat hair. There's one thing you can always be sure of. There will be cat hair in my studio. I do think that this blue is too dark for what I want to do. So I used that on the petals. So I just wanted to see here, because I haven't, like I said, I've just really been playing with these just now. I want to see which blue I want to choose. I think I want to go with the lighter of the 2 colors. So, yeah. But that's where what I will be, let me move this paper. That's what I will be doing with the circle here. Is I think I want to go with some blue letters, and the yellow will be on the inside. So, before I add water to this, there is something I've been meaning to experiment with this particular coloring tool, the 3-in-1 Woodies, and that is applying a little bit of heat with, I think I'm going to choose to do that with my heat tool that I use for embossing. You could also use a hairdryer, I imagine, but I think that would be super duper noisy for y'all, and I still haven't decided if I'm going to high speed that part as well, so you don't have to hear the sound of my embossing tool. But I wanted to do that on the background, because while we are always fighting for the rights of just about everyone when it comes to gay rights and to marriage equality and gender equality, all the things that represent with the Pride colors, and we are showing solidarity for our friends of Ukraine, even in Russia. I mean, nobody wants to be involved in this war except for they who shall not be named, or he who shall not be named. And But we're also fighting, again, here in the United States for the right for women to have control over their own bodies and a plethora of other things that go along with that. So I kind of wanted to add in some women's movement colors into this background because this is one of my smallest coloring pages I've ever shared with the Have Color Will Travel newsletter subscribers, my colorful newsletter. So I thought, you know, let's just go crazy and we'll put that out here. And the colors of the women's rights are purple. I think if I'm remembering right, they're purple, gold, and white. So obviously white is already present. I'm trying to get this purple to, well, it's going to roll. There's nothing I can do with it. But in this set of Woody colors also comes a gold. So let's see how these work. And I'm going to put some heat on them and do some weird, crazy, squiggly thing. I honestly don't know, y'all, what I'm going to do. And FYI, it also comes with a silver, which I just brought out because why not? So let me pause the video for a second while I go on the pursuit of my heating tool. Okay, y'all. Here is my old school embossing gun from back in the day when I used to do a lot of work with stamps and embossing powders. Let's see what happens with it. You know what? In fact, I think what I had another one underneath here. Let's just try it on here so that I don't actually ruin this entire coloring page because I would like to finish it. I think I'm going to cut it out and put it up in my studio. Let's see. I'm going to turn this on. See if oh no. Oh, it's a little noisy. Sorry about that. Let's see if we get a little heat. Ooh, it's changing colors, y'all. It's looking waxy. And ooh, it's starting to, oh gosh, let's see what happens. I hope you can see this. I can't really tell. Oh, it is like writing with lipstick, everyone. And I bet you, oh, yep, I thought that would happen. Yes. Oh, look at that. Oh, this is going to be, oh, okay, so I am barely pushing down. This is happening with very, very little effort. And then remember, this is also water soluble. So whatever I do later is going, I know it's slowly starting to get harder as the temperatures changes. It's getting close to 100 degrees here in Texas. So as you probably could hear in the background, I've got the AC running. So this is drying really quickly. That's fabulous. So, oh, just a little bit. How about, ooh, that doesn't take too much effort either. So it does work with the heat tool. Let's replace this. And then remember, oh, I'm too excited. I keep cutting myself off. I'm talking about politics and art, and I'm getting nervous. And I've also got this hot tool that's making loud noises. My brain's getting scattered. You can add water to this, which we will do in just a moment. And I wonder what that's going to look like on such a low, this is such a feather light amount of the pigment. So what are we going to get out of that, you guys? This is so exciting. Okay, so here's our master coloring page. I'm running out of room here quickly. Let me move some things around so that I have space and get got my purple and my gold. And this, bear with me, I'm not going to use the white. That does come with the white, and I'm sure it would be great, but not on this stark white paper. It'd probably be really boring. So I'm just gonna play with both of them at the same time. I think I'm just gonna see if I can make it so you guys can watch. Ooh, that's a little hot on my hand. There we go. See, hopefully you can see some of the transition as it gets glossy with the heat and melts the pigment just a smidge. All right, I'm gonna turn it off. Let's just go. I'm gonna go double-handed. Oh, you guys. Oh, I needed to tape this down so it doesn't move. Oh, that's so cool, you guys. Wow. Okay, no more sound. Oh, double colors. Oh, this is so neat. Oh my goodness gracious. Woo! Can you imagine doing this with your children as well? Oh my gosh, they'd go so crazy with this. Okay, I wonder. All right, so I've got some of my fingers. Not enough though. Okay, I wonder, so you can see, can you see the, I'm gonna zoom. Let's see here. Let's zoom you in. Come on, fingers, make a response. I'm gonna zoom you in down here. Do you see how it's raised? right there because there's an extra amount. I'm going to set the heat tool on that and see. Oh, I'm trying to get you back now. There we go, regular view. I'm going to set the heat tool on this and see what happens. All right, so how long before it, oh, it's starting to get glossy. It means it's melting. I'm going to do this one. Ooh, pretty, pretty, pretty. Okay, we're done. We don't need any more of that sound. Oh, you guys, I wish you could do this with me. It's so cool. It's so feather light. Oh, and it's such a pretty, pretty yellow gold. Okay, we're going to do some more of that. I'm going to speed this part up so you don't have to listen to my tool. But yeah, this is amazingly fun. Okay, before we begin adding color to our coloring page we're working on together, I thought I'd show you a little bit about what makes this black, the 3-in-1 Stabilo Woody, so cool. Written across, why not write "Have color will travel"? No reason not to. I mean, if you just look at it here, it's like, oh my gosh, it can be so thick and black, and this is just with it by itself without much pressure. I'm always talking about hand pressure because, you know, when you reach a certain age, or even not, some people have grip issues long before they're in that age where people are talking about how their hands hurt. And I think it's important to note how things make your hands feel. So I'm going to use, this is just the brush that the Stabilos came with. Although I should say the Woodies. Get it wet. Excuse me. And let's just watch. Look at that. Do you see why I think it's so cool? It is such a pigmented black. Let's go over here where I laid down quite a bit of pigment over here. I mean, it just almost even colors. It covers my illustration. It's just the coolest thing. I mean, I could do this all day long. Watch this black go. And, you know, even watercolor pencils, even I have very nice watercolor pencils, y'all. None of them really respond to water quite as easily because I'm not really pressing down very much. I'm not scrubbing or anything like these Woodies do. So it's super fun. Yeah. So that's why the black is so cool. And imagine using that black on watercolor paper or on a canvas or something like that. It would just be super satisfying. I'm going to move my Woodies over here for this wet brush so that it doesn't just start to melt the pigment. All right, let's do some coloring. I think I'm going to have to do a little bit of arranging here. I shouldn't say coloring, I should say painting. This is my preferred method of coloring, is using water-soluble materials. I love water-soluble stuff. It's just so satisfying to use, in my opinion. It's tactile, it's experimental, all those good things. Now, what I didn't say before we began, and I should have, so my apologies, is what I printed this on. This is printed on, I cannot remember the GSM of this cardstock, but it's a pretty hardy cardstock. It's pretty stiff. And I've never painted on this before, so I'm not exactly sure how it's going to respond to water. This, my coloring book is a pretty nice quality paper, but again, also not designed to receive water. So there's some buckling. And you'll also notice that the Stabilo, the 3-in-1 Woodies, there's texture left behind here. The red here was a Woody, the red here. I meant for that to stay there, but I think if it was on a watercolor paper, meaning a paper that was designed to receive moisture and respond to it in a way that's just a lot more flexible than a paper like this. It's meant only for dry medium. It would probably integrate better. I haven't done that yet. I will. You know me. I love to make. I have all my colorable cards and bookmarks and gift tags are all on watercolor paper. Oh, I didn't realize I had a little bit of a fleck of gold. I think I'll put that right here. There we go. So we'll see how this goes. When you're working with paper that's not designed to receive water, the key to that, I'm trying to figure out where to put my water glass that it does not give y'all a huge amount of shadow on what you're watching. So I think that's where it'll be. You really want to pay attention to how much water you put onto the paper. And then in addition to that, you want to pay attention to how much friction you are using on the paper, because when water gets into paper that's not designed to receive it, it integrates into the fibers of the paper, and just like a wooden door expands on a humid day, the paper begins to expand with the moisture. And when that happens, paper tears, or in the cases of a lot of paper, it begins to pill, and that's a really unattractive look. Not usually what we're going for. It doesn't mean you did it wrong. It means that the paper that you're working on is not meant for water. And so if you would like to do water onto that paper, because I'm known to put water everywhere in my art, you just have to have a little bit of caution. I have a rag nearby. I shouldn't call this a rag. My sister-in-law crocheted this for me. It's not a rag. But it's just, I have it nearby, a beautiful thing nearby to adjust the moisture of my brush if it turns out that it's a little too moist. Now I'm gonna let you do this real time just a little bit, and then I think I'll hyperlapse. I'm not a huge fan of everyone like sitting and watching me color while I talk, because I can color and talk forever. Let's see how this goes. I also would like for you to color yourself. So I'm gonna be probably a little nitpicky about my lines, because I want the color inside them, because I have these representational colors and I'd like them not to erase each other. And I like how there's just a little bit of, well, I just erased it, a little bit of space left that's got the texture there. So I like that. And I'm going to rinse my brush in between each color so that the color that comes next stays true. And why I love this, I mean, sometimes I think people think I must be crazy and I've got a little too much water, so I'm going to go over to my rag. Because basically when you use watercolor or water-soluble materials, and I think I'm going to have to switch my glasses pretty soon, the glare from my filming lights, and see, here we go, we're starting to buckle. This is not liking the water, and you're seeing some of that gray of the paper show through. That will fade as it dries, so don't freak out if you're painting. If you're like me and you're like, you want to try all the things within a coloring book, I'm going to change my glasses, y'all, so I can see better. That paper is going to change color. It will go back to looking like paper again. It's not going to stay that way. That's just how it's responding to the water. So I enjoy this act of kind of painting in the lines and just kind of playing. And notice I didn't add a bunch of pigment all the way through because I knew that I was going to paint it through. I find painting really relaxing. This reminds me, and I'm going to do some Googling and put it down in the description if I can find like evidence of this, because people who are younger than me are going to be like, what are you talking about? And people who are considerably older than me, considerably, that makes it sound judgy, who are older than me may not have experienced this, but in the early 80s and late 70s, there was such a thing called paint with water. Oh, there goes a cat hair. Okay, I hate cat hair in my paintbrushes. Paint with water. And basically it was these books that looked like coloring books. Sometimes they had like the famous things you might want to color, you know, Disney cartoons and whatnot, or superheroes, but more often than not they were just drawings of whatever they thought children would like to engage. And they had these lines of pigment, basically paint on the paper that would be someplace within the lines of the drawing, so that it would still have a black line drawing just like it was a coloring page. And I'm loving this. So because this is not, I'm sorry, I'm segueing into what you're seeing here. So I'm gonna zoom in so you can see what's going on. with my purple. So because this is not watercolor paper, I moved this pigment, this purple, and it stained this area right here. I think that's fabulous. And then I just took some water that I had on my brush that was tainted purple and moved it around. If this was watercolor paper, this would respond very differently. It would not do what you're seeing here, where it's just kind of splotchy and you can still see pigment that's stuck into the fiber of the paper. That's because of the paper, not because of the coloring tool. And I'm thinking, while I'm doing this tutorial or this coloring together experience with y'all, I'm thinking I'm going to do another moment with watercolorable, water-soluble tools on my coloring experiences that are printed on watercolor paper, so that you can see the difference of these coloring tools on artist paper versus the paper that you get when you are dealing with coloring books. So you can see the method behind my madness and why I love having my coloring experiences printed on art paper. But going back to what I was saying about paint with water, yeah, so that these, I mean, along the lines would be these, it would basically look like pixelated dots, so they were like dot to dot looking kinds of lines, so dotted lines running all along the image within it. And you were not meant to color the page, although I'm sure you could have if you wanted to. You were meant to get a paintbrush, and I think sometimes they came with paintbrushes. I don't know if that's true or not. I might remember I was quite small. I was quite young. So I was born in 73. I am old. I'm not that old. And you would take a wet paintbrush with just some water, and you would brush it against those colorful dots, and you would make, you fill it in. Basically what I'm doing here, although much less satisfying. So I had too much water there, so let me put my thing up here. I had too much water on my brush when I got to that green, so I just dabbed some of that off. And you would fill in the coloring page with this paint, and it was like super unpigmented is the right word. I mean, it was more than translucent, and it would barely cover the image. And I got into the habit of taking my paintbrush and just dotting it along, like I would touch it, and that was kind of satisfying. I just really have fond memories of those paint with water books and those paint with water experiences. And I think that's why, if given the opportunity, even though it means twice the time, because you color and then you add water, so you color once and then you paint once, so you're doing the whole experience twice, which in my mind means you're getting twice the bang for your buck. But for some people, they're like, you're taking twice the time. Why would you do that? Because it's fun, y'all. Oh my gosh, I missed a petal. I'm gonna have to make an executive decision about that. Well, that's actually really awesome that I missed a petal. I can show you another, I don't want to say it's a trick, it's just something fun that I do when I work with water-soluble materials, which is another fun way to do it, which is to use the pencil as sort of like I call it an air palette. So let's see, what should I do there? I wish I had y'all here to vote for me. Yellow's too close, red's definitely too close, blue's right there. Everybody's right there because of the way the petals are piled up. I think we will go with green because it's my favorite color. Oh, but there's a little bit of orange. Oh no, I'll show you on the side. So one of my favorite things to do with water-soluble pencils, whether they're watercolor or permanent, is I use it as an air palette. So I get my brush coated with paint by taking a wet brush to the tip, and I use it like paint. Wow, okay, so that was way too much for this moment. And then this, of course, I'm gonna set over here so it can dry really well. I'm gonna use all this over here so it doesn't go to waste. So yeah, that is my paint with water origin story of why the method behind my madness, or the history behind my madness. I'm going to start hyperlapsing this so that you can color instead of just watching into me. Hopefully you're watching me and color, or not watching me, you're listening and coloring. And you notice some of these colors are more pigmented than others. That's usually true of any kind of watercolor or water soluble material. Pigment is just different depending upon the color. And then I'm probably going to bring you back so you can hear me talk a little bit more when I get to the women's movement colors to see what happens when we do the ones that we applied heat to, because I'm curious if that will affect how it works with the water. So you've probably seen reason number one why paper matters. This is a really fairly thick cardstock, but it is not loving getting wet, which is one of the reasons why I stopped making my colorable adventures that were not books on cardstock, because it really doesn't perform the way I'd like it to when it has moisture, and moisture comes from water soluble stuff, which not everybody colors as much with water soluble materials as I do, but markers have a lot of moisture, y'all. And I have never found that really high quality cardstock, which this is, responds well to moisture. It's just not meant for it. This paper, on the other hand, very thin in comparison to this cardstock, performs much better and enjoys having water soluble material on it. So paper matters. Now, let's see if heat matters when we are adding water to the Stabilo Woodies. I'm super curious. Really where I want to go the most is down here, so forgive me that I'm moving the page up on the screen and out of your sight. I apologize. So I'm going to get some water. I really don't know what I'm doing here. I mean, this is probably the messiest I've ever colored in my life, but this is kind of how I'm feeling about all these things, about all of the rights in our country that are being threatened, about the war in Ukraine, about the state of the world right now. So I feel like this coloring is coming really from my heart right now. So let's see what happens. I don't know that it's necessarily but maybe, because it's like, it's not moving that area right here. It's like, I think I'm gonna have to really dig in there. You know what? I'm going for it. Ooh, cat hair again. Are we shocked? No, that's the collective answer. No, it's Michelle's studio. There's cat hair. This is so fun. So it does affect it. When you get it hot, it's not lifting as much. So that's an interesting discovery, which, okay, now I want to go down here where it's feather light. I think I'll go over here. It'll be easier because it's not wet. Oh, that's interesting. So what I'm seeing, and hopefully you're seeing it too, I mean, this is a really pigmented purple, but when it's feather light, it's changed the value. Because see, here we are, super, super, super pigmented. But down here, where we've done some very light texture, it's almost like it's pink. That's cool. Oh, yeah, it's almost like it's pink. That's very interesting. Again, it's not going to move as much. So we're just going to town. I'm going to hyperlapse this for you. I'm just going to enjoy myself here. Maybe I'm just going to leave this little nugget while I finish up adding water to these messy marks I made. All right. This is a glorious mess, and I'm really excited about it. I'm going to go a little bit like this because you can't catch it all in frame, and I'm afraid I have a new phone stand, and I think if I tried to adjust it, it would probably all come crumbling down. Wow. So I'm thinking this is going up in the studio. I was thinking I'd cut it out, but no, I'm happy with this glorious mess of color and the representations of the color and the experimentation that I did and the mistakes that happened along the way and the knowledge that was earned as I went through it. It's just totally fabulous. I think I need to sign this. So like all good things, you should sign your work so that I remembered that I colored this with y'all on this day. So let's see, we're in May, so I'm gonna do my signature, and then let's see, 5/22. There we go. Let's show you won't be able to see it. So there we are. Well, I hope you've all enjoyed coloring together with the Stabilo 3-in-1 colored pencils meant for kids, but that grown-ups really, really love. And that you made some amazing, messy, meaningful coloring art today too. I just love this. I'm gonna write on the back of it some of the things that I was thinking while I was coloring, while I was getting hyperlapsed, and I hope that you do similar things with your coloring pages, because these are marks of ours and they're important. Happy coloring. Take good care of yourself, take good care of your communities, and I'll see you soon.